Well, hey, you are watching the video version of the Marketing Should Be Fun podcast. It's so good to have you here. You can find this show on any of your favorite podcast platforms. There's the art, looks like that. You got Apple Podcasts, you got Spotify, you got all the rest. Anywhere you want to find it, you can check it out. I hope you enjoyed today's conversation. Well, welcome back to Marketing Should Be Fun. My name's Austin Savage. I'm here with my good friend and business partner, Kelsey Zarko. And we are excited for today's episode. Today, we're talking about how to cancel out the guru talk, and it's going to be a good one. Kelsey, we're making a change here on the podcast, and we're just jumping straight in to our this or that, our favorite segment of the show, where we fight about our opinions. That's Kelsey, true. What's today's this or that?
Yes, today's this or that is, at the time of this episode, it is beginning of February. Exciting time in the world. So
Valentine's Day.
Nope. We're doing something different. We're doing something different. Okay. I'm not going to do the stereotype Valentine question, but we can factor that in later.
Okay.
Today's question is Summer Olympics or Winter Olympics?
I knew it was going to be something like this. So
I love the Olympics.
I just learned you posted, 1 or 2 days ago. Yep. And I learned that the Olympics was happening when I saw your post.
I was so disappointed in you.
Gosh, this is a hard question. When I was a kid, it would have been Winter Olympics because I thought the snowboarding was cool and I enjoyed that. But I don't know. Now that I'm older, I feel like I enjoy some of the swimming and the rowing. I like that. And
why did that become a thing as you got older?
I have no idea. Now I feel I'm kind of self-conscious about my answer now because I'm second guessing myself. But the true answer is I probably watched the last Summer Olympics more than I will watch the Winter Olympics this year.
Sure.
What would you say?
I didn't even actually think about my answer. I'm going to say winter. I love figure skating so much. And even more so,
that's true.
I married into a hockey family and they're like violently against figure skating. So I have to hold on to my love for it even more now.
Wow.
But I loved watching it when I was a kid. Like I remember, we all do like our little routines around the living room, pretend like we're in the Olympics. So it's fun to see my own kids even do that now. So I'm going to say winter.
That is awesome. I just literally can't believe it was the Super Bowl and the Olympics this year. And you were the person who educated me about both of those things because I watched your stories. So
I feel so inspired by myself right now.
You should. You absolutely should. Man.
Keeping you up on the times.
Seriously, I need it because I just feel like I'm head down half the time or just oblivious. Like I'm just like, I just want to do something fun. And then I'm like, wait, what's happening in the world? I don't even know.
This is probably why you're so much better at today's topic than I am, because I'm just always watching everything and paying attention to what everyone's saying.
Yeah, so I'm like oblivious to it.
This makes sense.
Okay, so we wanted to talk today about how to cancel out the guru talk. So Kelsey, let me throw it to you. What does that look like to you? And this was your idea for an episode. So kind of like, what was the inspiration to you to talk about this?
Okay. Yes. I love this topic. And I brought it up because I see a lot of entrepreneurs and just, I think people in general struggling with letting so many voices in right now. Everyone has an opinion. Everyone feels like I think it's easy in today's world to think that like everyone's opinion should be taken as gold. Yeah. And that everybody knows what they're doing. We kind of look at people's accounts or just their business in general and think, well, they have it all together, but we're not seeing behind the scenes.
Totally.
So I'm seeing a lot of people get exhausted by social media or get discouraged by putting content in general out. And that makes me sad because I think that people have a lot of good things to share. And when we get caught up in, the guru talk and trying to do it this one way, that is exhausting. So no wonder people quit. And I don't want to see that happen to them.
Yeah, it's true because like I feel like also we just assume everybody's advice perfectly applies to our context as well. And I mean, it's interesting. I've been reading a lot this year, which is crazy.
You have,
and so it's proud. But it's been interesting because I'm like a lot of the principles shared in some of the books I've been reading, are for larger companies than ours, and so I'm like, I can't just take that advice and apply it to my context. Or there's people who are content creators for a living. And so we can't, just take all of their advice like face value because it has to fit a different context in our business or our brand. As we're, taking maybe the essence of what's shared but not the quantity of what they're recommending or
So
something like that. So I don't know. What are some of the common tips you've heard?
Yeah, I love that point you just made. That's so true. Like we're not all the same. So we can't just copy paste the advice and expect it to make sense or work for us. That's so good. Some of the common, advice I've heard lately, especially on social media, I think our listeners probably know by now, that's mostly where I hang out, is, I'm sure you've heard like 30 reels in 30 days, or, video content is king right now. Quit putting photos in your feed.
Yeah.
Things even about like the perfect number of hashtags, or, it's not going to get seen unless you have this. That's kind of the language and message that I've been hearing a lot of lately.
Do you know the number that people are recommending right now for hashtags?
Well, sometimes it's 8, sometimes it's 5, sometimes it's 30. No, the 8 and 5 thing was like a buzzword. Like you don't need as many hashtags. And all of these things are rooted in some true things. But like you were saying, we can't make them the only thing, or then we just burn out and it's not accurate.
Yeah, totally. It's funny. We have one account that's been growing. I think it's that we manage. And it's sitting around like 15,000 followers now. But like, obviously Instagram has changed a bunch of stuff, and we just like haven't changed anything for that account. Like we're still doing the exact same thing. And it's either like 0 hashtags or the 30 hashtags like you used to do.
Yeah.
And as it's still working. And so we're just like, as long as it's still working, we're just going to keep doing our thing and just like running in our lane. And I love it. But I hear the same thing, honestly, like on podcasts and stuff, for especially clients that are new that we're talking to. Like they feel pressure for their podcast to look a certain way, or to have a video component, or to have segments, in it. Like, we do this or that, and then like the talk, but we have, there's so many different ways that you can structure a podcast. And it's interesting because I feel like a lot of that, comes from either things that they've heard or seen from other people. And it's exciting when we can kind of come in and cancel out the guru talk in a way where we're just like, listen, like when it comes to your brand, like you are the guru, like you get to come in and be the voice that directs how the brand is built, how, you're sharing content, what that content looks like, what channels you're using, all of that. And it's empowering and fun, I feel like, when that message is kind of like solidified within us.
Yeah. I love what you said about that you're the guru. Probably all of these things that we're seeing as like the gurus telling us now, that change only happened because somebody decided, I want to try it different.
Exactly.
And they noticed that like, oh, this is kind of cool, and it worked. So to try to stick in the same patterns as someone else and not be brave enough to try it your way probably isn't going to bring a lot of innovation to the world in general either.
Yeah. I think it kind of goes back to our episode 1 idea that content performs on a human level. And it's kind of interesting because it's like, as whatever you are, if you're a business owner, just a leader of any sort, it's like we're always looking for those like silver bullets that we're like, if we do this thing, we are going to grow. Yeah. And it's like just kind of coming to terms with the fact that like silver bullets don't exist. And even if they do kind of exist in some way, that doesn't always mean that you leveraging that way to grow is actually going to help your business or like actually help your brand. Just because you're getting more followers doesn't necessarily mean that you're solidifying your brand.
Right.
And so it's just really interesting because that idea that like people are going to connect with you. They're going to connect with, you being authentic to yourself in how you want to show up online. And that doesn't mean you can't be stretched in that, and that you can't learn from, best practices and principles. But it also means that you don't have to be tied to, the whims of different platforms that you're on, or the different ways that people are showing up, that you can be authentic to yourself. So Kelsey, you actually put together a list of 4 principles, for the people who are like, okay, great. I can be my own person, but that gives me no direction to actually be actionable. And so you put together a little list. So what are the 4 principles that you wanted to share today to help people cancel out the guru talk?
Yeah. First of all, if you're that kind of person, I feel you. I'm like, great.
Solidarity.
I would like the list. Please tell me how to do this thing. Yeah. So here's 4 things you can keep in mind with some flexibility in there to be yourself. The first one we kind of already touched on, but it's remember that content performs on a human level. Yeah. This principle can guide you whether you're putting out a social post or a podcast or sending an email, any of that. Remember that the people who are listening and reading it are real humans, and that should inform your goals and kind of your methods right there.
Mm-hmm.
And then speaking of goals, I think this is what we see making a big difference on a lot of our accounts that are growing right now, is that people are clear on their goals. They know like what they're accomplishing. Now, in that, you can have some flexibility. Your goal could be to make people laugh, or it could be to just empathize with people. It doesn't always have to be like this super high-powered mission statement with like all these sales goals you have, but it certainly can be. But when you're clear on your goals, that helps you kind of stay in their lane that you want to run in and not feel so distracted by all these different ideas that are coming your way. Thirdly, find what consistency means for you. What can you do? You know, we talk all the time. You've heard us say before that consistency really is kind of the magic button or whatever. Putting out consistent content is what we love to help our clients do. But consistency, just like we were talking about with goals, can mean so many different things to so many different people. So think about, like, sit down and think about what can you actually consistently keep up with, whether that's how often you're putting out a podcast, how many times you're posting on social. And if you can come up with a rhythm that works for you, again, that's going to keep you in your lane when you're like, I can't do 30 reels a day or 30 reels in 30 days. Great. Don't. People can't. But how many, you know, could you do one a week? Like they are, again, like we were saying before, they are rooted in good practices. Reels are a wonderful tool to grow right now. You don't need to do one a day if you can't handle it. Which most people can't. And then the last thing I would say, and this is just kind of something to keep in mind over all that you do, is remember that an app or a platform should not run your life. That will be an exhausting way to grow your business, to get your dream out there. So remember that, like Austin said, you are the guru of your brand. You have to keep yourself alive and thriving and inspired too. And so being controlled and run by all these principles that you're supposed to follow on an app is just not a good plan to follow. And so if you keep those 4 things in mind, I think that will give you some guidance and some, you know, guiding principles, if you want to call them that, but give you a lot of freedom to have fun and enjoy yourself and still be effective in the middle of all of it.
I love it. That was such a good list. I love that.
Thanks.
I feel like we just put pressure on ourselves. Like, I think that's the thing as leaders. Like, we just feel like there's always something we can be doing better. Or, you know, if we hear somebody say something, we just think we have to make that change, you know, just like that. And like, there's a better way. Like, it's just like, you know, kind of like going back to that, like just taking the general principle and applying it back to your context, is important, but the actual applying to your context is the thing that we often forget to do. So we just want to encourage you today that you really are the guru of your brand. Like you are an expert in what you're doing. You know the unique vision that you have, whether it's for your personal brand or for the brand you lead, and you can stay true to that, you know, without having to kind of adjust based on what other people are saying. Like you can kind of trust your gut as you are building your brand. And that's when people will really start to connect with you. So this week, be intentional about canceling out the guru talk, just taking the essence of it, and do some really cool things. So Kelsey, any final thoughts that you wanted to share?
Yeah, I would just say to be encouraged. I think I know we are seeing our clients growing in a multitude of different ways, different strategies, different tactics, but there's growth there. And so just be encouraged that you don't need to put yourself in a box, that you do know what you're doing. And it's okay if you look different, then that might be the most surprising ingredient for your growth that you find.
I love it. Awesome. Well, this was a fun one.
And I liked it.
I felt like we brought the energy today. So hopefully
feeling it. It's not the 3 cups of coffee I had. I'm certain of it.
No, not at all. It's not the 18,000 cups I've had. Anyways, thank you guys for listening to today's episode. If you are not already subscribed to the Marketing Should Be Fun podcast, you should do that. We look forward to seeing you right back here for our next episode. So thanks for listening.